All right, let's jump right into this explainer and explore the surprisingly simple psychology that can actually keep you safe during your next police encounter. Routine traffic stops happen literally thousands of times a day, yet a huge percentage of escalations happen in just the first 60 seconds, completely due to miscommunication. Look, traffic stops can be incredibly nerve-wracking for absolutely anyone, but today we're going to break down some crucial source material from the Cobra Bag Foundation that outlines exactly how to navigate these high-stress situations using strategy rather than panic.
So, what do you think causes the most preventable escalations when people interact with the police? You'd probably assume it's about what people do wrong, right? Maybe sudden, aggressive actions. But as our source material reveals, preventable escalations often stem from something else entirely. It's actually about what people choose not to say. It's that silence, that total void of information that creates danger. It basically allows the officer's mind to just fill in the blanks with worst-case scenarios.
To help you navigate these situations safely, we're going to follow a really straightforward roadmap today. We'll start with the danger of uncertainty, move on to the tinted window problem, talk about facing outstanding warrants, cover disclosing medical conditions, and finally, look at what not to disclose.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the danger of uncertainty.
Here is the fundamental rule we really need to internalize. Uncertainty equals danger in an officer's mind. When an officer walks up to a vehicle, they are quite literally trained to expect the unexpected. I mean, they don't know you, they don't know your history, and they definitely don't know your intentions. That unknown automatically makes their alert level spike. It's just a biological survival response baked into their training. But when you actively and voluntarily disclose information, you completely remove that unknown. You're basically answering their silent questions before they even have to ask. As a direct result, their alert level drops. Their primary job in those first few seconds is just to manage uncertainty, so if you do it for them, you take control of the whole temperature of the interaction.
And that brings us to this concept of preemptive transparency. Basically, it means giving an officer accurate information before they have to ask for it, or worse, discover it themselves. Why is this so incredibly crucial? Because information an officer has to drag out of you feels like a massive red flag, whereas information you freely offer feels like proactive cooperation. Embracing this changes everything. Instead of just sitting there passively, hoping the officer's having a good day, you are strategically managing the psychology of the encounter for your own safety. You're showing them right off the bat that you're a reliable partner in resolving this stop quickly.
Let's move on to Section 2 and look at a real-world example, the tinted window problem.
Window tint is a fascinating example of how perspectives completely clash. To you, sitting inside the car, tint is just a nice convenience. It gives you privacy, blocks UV rays, keeps the car cool. You feel totally secure behind it. But flip the script and put yourself in the shoes of an approaching officer. To them, heavy tint completely hides whatever is going on inside. It creates an immediate, literal wall of dangerous uncertainty. They're forced to walk blindly toward a potential threat. They can't see how many people are in the car, or if someone is reaching for their registration, or reaching for a weapon. That visual deprivation instantly cranks up the tension before anyone even says hello.
So how do we instantly dismantle that physical wall of uncertainty? It literally takes 2 seconds. Picture this. You get pulled over at night, on a dark shoulder. Visibility is terrible, which absolutely maximizes the officer's apprehension. Before they even step out of their cruiser, you do 2 things. Step 1, roll all the windows down immediately. Step 2, turn on your interior dome light. Think about how powerful that is psychologically. In just a few seconds, you've transformed a dark, scary, unknown box into a fully lit, completely transparent space. It's like a massive beacon of compliance visible from 20 feet away. It tells the officer, hey, I see you, I respect this process, and there is absolutely nothing to worry about here. All right, on to Section 3, facing outstanding warrants.
Let's be real and talk about what is arguably the most anxiety-inducing scenario imaginable. Getting stopped when you know for a fact you have an outstanding warrant. It makes total sense that the panic of a warrant triggers a major fight or flight response. Your heart is pounding, and your first instinct is to run, resist, or just argue your way out of it. But here's the harsh truth. Warrants do not just magically fade away. Actually, they accumulate. They become significantly more serious over time with added fines and failure to appear violations. Ignoring a warrant doesn't make you free. It just means you're living on borrowed time. You are always just one broken taillight away from a massive, unpredictable crisis.
And the math on this is absolutely undeniable. Check out this breakdown. If you choose to comply, your legal trouble stays right at the baseline. You'll face the charge for the original warrant, and yeah, it's a super stressful inconvenience, but it's a contained problem. But if you panic and decide to run or fight, those charges are going to mathematically compound every single time. You still face the original warrant, but now add a felony fleeing charge, plus resisting arrest, plus whatever else happens in the chaos. Fleeing never, ever erases the original issue. It just guarantees your legal battle will be exponentially harder. The smartest, safest move is always to comply, go peacefully, and let your attorney handle the heavy lifting later.
Moving right along to Section 4, disclosing medical conditions.
So, physical barriers like tinted windows are one thing, but invisible barriers can be just as risky. If you have a medical condition that affects your behavior, if you're deaf or hard of hearing, or even if you just have severe clinical anxiety that makes you physically shake or sweat, you have to be proactive. Think about how that looks to an untrained eye. If an officer yells a command and you don't respond because you literally can't hear them, they might think you're being defiant. If your hands are shaking from anxiety, they might think you're nervous because you're hiding contraband. Proactively disclosing these conditions instantly humanizes you. It replaces their suspicion with accurate medical facts. Seriously, memorize this exact script from the source material. It is a literal tactical tool you can use. Imagine the officer walks up, sees you looking super jittery, and before they can even process it, you say, "I want you to know I have an anxiety disorder, and I may appear nervous. That is normal for me." That one sentence completely flips the narrative. Instead of thinking, "Whoa, what is this person hiding?" the officer thinks, "Okay, they're managing a medical condition, and they're actually helping me out by explaining it." You just took a massive, invisible source of tension and totally deleted it from the whole equation.
And we know this stuff genuinely works out there in the real world. The source material highlights a couple of great examples. In one case, a firearms instructor was pulled over. She had a legally owned weapon in the car, but instead of waiting for the officer to spot it and freak out, she kept her hands on the wheel and preemptively disclosed her concealed carry license immediately. The result? A super quick, smooth stop, and the officer actually thanked her for being so professional. In another case, a driver voluntarily admitted to having a small amount of marijuana before the officer even started a search. Because they completely removed that combative gotcha moment, the encounter de-escalated instantly, and they walked away without a single traffic citation. Honestly, proactive honesty builds undeniable rapport.
Okay, finally, Section 5, what not to disclose.
Now, transparency is an amazing tool, but we absolutely need to set some boundaries here. The golden rule is to only disclose things that remove uncertainty about your current, immediate behavior and safety. You are just explaining what is happening right now, in the car. You should never, ever volunteer detailed stories about your past criminal history or launch into some complex backstory about why you're having a stressful day. Oversharing irrelevant history doesn't make you safer, it just opens up completely unnecessary avenues of investigation that can cause massive legal headaches for you later. Silence is your constitutional right, and transparency is a tactical tool. Save the long, detailed backstory for a closed room with your attorney.
I want you to really soak in this quote from the Cobra Back Foundation because it brilliantly sums everything up. Transparency removes uncertainty. Uncertainty is what escalates encounters. Remove it early and generously. That is the entire philosophy of this explainer right there in 3 sentences. De-escalation isn't about just blindly submitting to authority. It's about highly strategic communication. By offering up the right info at the exact right time, you're literally dismantling a dangerous encounter before it even has a chance to start.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Will you use preemptive transparency at your next traffic stop? The next time you see those red and blue lights flashing in your rearview mirror, how are you going to apply this psychology? Remember, you have the power to shift out of a panic state and step right into a mindset of strategy and control. Thanks so much for diving into this with me today. Stay safe out there, and remember, a little targeted transparency goes an incredibly long way.